in writing up stories of what has actually happened to real people and submitting them to magazines, I have had to tone down the real results because it sounds like total hyperbole. There is a hormone in your body that is far more consequential even than insulin, and it's called leptin. Leptin, not to be confused with lectin, which is not so good. I'm not even going to tell you how to spell the wrong one. So leptin, you may ask, do I take a pill? And that's what everyone asks as soon as they hear what it does. And I always tell them, no, you can't take a pill. And they are scurrying right now to make a drug that is going to mimic leptin. And if you understand how health headlines work, and you understand how they set you up and set up the need for the next heroic prescription drug, they are about to unleash a new era of treating obesity, and this is beyond obesity, what I'm going to talk about, as a chronic disease. The woman that I was at 19 years old, completely biochemically enslaved, the product of 10 years of eating pure plastic. I didn't grow up with real food. I grew up eating no real butter. It was kind of the worst. Then I moved to New York City, and I graduated to real food. And graduated to real food and started eating even health food. I moved to New York City to become a makeup artist. And I did all of the work with the film crews, etc., and learned what real food was, and was eating brown rice instead of any of the stuff I grew up with, all whole grains. And then I was actually eating what I would call the advanced health food diet. By that time, though, my biochemistry was such that I had a relationship with food and yeast issues and digestive issues and autoimmune issues, and eventually my health started to fail. I was actually a binge eater, and that's not really what I'm here to talk to you about. It's my roundabout way of discovering this hormone leptin 4 years before it was even discovered. In 1994, 4 years after I had accidentally harnessed the unbelievable power of this hormone, the hormone was discovered in rodents and shown to give them an instant satiety signal and instant weight loss. And for me, that happened to me in kind of an abrupt way. But so many other things happened that I didn't listen about leptin until 2004, when I was on a book signing describing what I was able to replicate in myself after having lost 10 dress sizes over 3 years and reversed all of my autoimmune issues and my head-to-toe ailments, from canker sores and UTIs and dizziness on standing, blurry vision, horrible skin rashes, to the heroin-like addiction with food that after 12 years of white-knuckling my way through every day completely shut off and relieved me in a way that now the scientists are saying is impossible. And this way of being free, and I call it the freedom zone, is not only possible, but I've replicated it in myself, have not come out of this incredible freedom zone for 25 years, no struggle, and this is after white-knuckling my way through every single day of my life leading up to that as a fat-storing, pro-inflammatory, hormonally completely messed up, estrogen-dominant, thyroid malfunctioning machine. And so all of this changed. And the odd thing is that in New York City, I was a makeup artist. All they wanted after I transformed myself beyond recognition was to hear me talk about what color eyeshadow goes where on Sally Jessy and Geraldo and, Gordon Elliott and all these shows. And that is why I gave a little bit of a beauty packaging to my book, The Truth About Beauty. And so I wrote this book disguised as a beauty book to describe a phenomenon that still, I didn't know, harnessed this incredible hormone leptin. And in fact, the research on the hormone leptin was not even known beyond the satiety signal that it provided and the fact that it tells the human body exactly when you're supposed to stop eating and exactly to create the best reproductive body and to create survival, someone who can run, from the saber-toothed tiger. That was thought to be the limits of leptin's job. Well, now 8,000 studies, and if you do a PubMed search on leptin, over 8,000 studies show that it modulates immunity, so things that are autoimmune or immune deficient issues are going to be quelled or stopped very, very abruptly. It also balances, again, the nervous system. It also upregulates all tissue healing. It fixes digestion, and it stops the blood sugar issues and makes your energy soar. Absolutely incredible. And so it has changed my life, but by 2004, when the foremost expert on the hormone leptin in the world found out what I was doing by coincidentally being at a book signing that I was giving and hearing me describe how I had kind of tricked people into coming along with me on a beauty cruise and fed them what I was eating just to see if what I did for myself, if I could produce it in other people. And I absolutely could. And in fact, it was in generally about 3 or 4 days. And that is how long it turns out in the science that it would take minimally to flip into sensitivity to the hormone leptin. This is for everyone. It's not for some people. It's not a fad, although it's being abused in the media right now in conjunction with these Biggest Loser stories where they are saying cryptically that leptin has plummeted in all of the old winning contestants of The Biggest Loser who underwent stressful starvation diets, tons of exercise, and that these articles are coordinated, they're all over the media, and they're telling us to throw in the towel on weight loss, that it cannot be done, and that you will always go back to the weight you were, as if that makes sense. And then they're saying, but there are some leptin drugs waiting in the wings, and also bariatric surgery worked better than starving. So that, they want you to think about that. What they don't talk about is what I have made happen in an incredible wide variety of people over the last 17 years. And again, Dr. Ron Rosedale, foremost expert on the hormone leptin, says not another human being has actually been doing observational study of human beings on site during this flip, as I call it. You could call it a transition. It is literally, sometimes I call it the day of reckoning. It is a day where your body's primary fuel, in most cases, and it shouldn't be, sugar, drops out. Your body's primary fuel drops out from under you, and if you are feeding it exactly the right way, and it is not intuitive, you will flip into the body preferring fat for fuel as its primary fuel. There is always a day where everything drops out, and if that day doesn't happen, you have not gone far enough. Now, the science is there on leptin, but the actual application of it to make it happen is all over the map and is a frontier, and it is just a willy-nilly testing ground right now. So if you read a leptin book and you see dietary guidelines, and I have seen them, I am amazed after 17 years how many immediately deal-breaking foods are recommended by these diets. And they're books that have beautiful science. So the science is there. You can do a PubMed search on any issue that you deal with from ADHD to inflammation, to hormonal issues, to estrogen dominance, to a thyroid that's not functioning, and almost everyone given lifelong thyroid drugs doesn't need to have them and shouldn't have been. And you look at libido, you look at hair loss related to thyroid, so many things that don't have to happen. You look up cancer and leptin. Everyone is beginning to see, especially after the A to Z study and then the Swedish Council study, these are the biggest dietary studies in history, and those have shown beyond a shadow of a doubt low carb is the direction you want to go. But are they all the same? Wow, I have an image. That's awesome. Low carb is not the same from diet to diet, and the loopholes in low carb are so incredible. Let's see if I can get this to actually change. And I can't seem to do that. And Erjan, I'm going to get your help, and we'll do that a little bit later. If you would just advance this, because these are not working. Beautiful. Excellent. Woohoo! All right. All right, Erjan. I'm so sorry. It's just malfunctioning. That's all right. As far as leptin sensitivity, it's all over the map. And the problem is that the people that are writing the books on leptin all have different thresholds at which sensitivity happens. So if a runner or someone who is very fit or who has never had a weight issue is going to write down the guidelines that worked for them, it's not going to be the guidelines that work for another person. And what determines the threshold at which this incredible phenomenon happens? Your heredity and your history, especially the frequency and severity of blood sugar spikes, and whether your parents died thin or were heavy and had metabolic issues. That's the reason why someone thin standing next to someone who has that history, or sometimes the thin person has that history and maybe has yeast issues and thyroid issues, etc. That determines whether what I would call a borderline food is going to spike your blood sugar, your insulin, and your leptin, and keep you out of sensitivity. And it will throw you out immediately. And that is why my program is designed to go very strictly into making sure that everyone who either attends my online or phone curriculum or visits me at a retreat is going to actually go all the way and achieve the flip, as I call it. And that's a unique term. And once that flip happens, the following symptoms happen, and you know you're in another world. You know you're in another place. Immediately, and it doesn't matter if you've never had a food issue, you will have a drop in appetite that is stunning. It doesn't matter if you've never had a food issue. You will suddenly be aware of what real human beings ever needed to really do in order to be adequately fed. Your energy at that same time will absolutely soar. And then your sleep will deepen incredibly. This is all in the same 2 days. Your sleep deepens. People who get up, it changes. Your swelling of all kinds, body-wide, you lose water. You lose edema due to inflammation everywhere. You see it in your face. You'll see it through here. I have people at my programs feeling their neck. Things change fast. The texture of the skin will change. And all of a sudden, you are looking at a different world. In the mornings, you feel clear-headed, and that's the word that's used. In the following week, you start to feel, men who are big here may feel their ribs a little, and that's something they may have not felt in a decade. And women will feel compressed. Libido goes up. Urination changes for men. 2 weeks ago, with my research, I found out that yes, in fact, leptin, when it's properly functioned, acts as a prebiotic, and it will actually make the gut go in the direction of populating with the good bacteria. They are exchanging bacteria in rodents and changing their personalities. They are taking bacteria from twin sisters, one heavy and one fat, and actually putting them into rodents and caused those changes accordingly of getting heavy or getting thinner because of the human bacteria. So the bacteria story is very big, and you have, with leptin, another connection there. There's longevity, there's the thymus. Turns out the thymus shrinks in everyone, and things like vaccines and exposures to environmental toxins will shrink the thymus. And when the thymus shrinks, you hear about all the people dying of pneumonia. The older people just dying of pneumonia. You literally run out of certain thymus cells, certain naive T cells they're called, the cells that are going to fight things that you've never fought before. And you run out of them as you get older. Leptin not only replenishes but also grows the thymus. A shrinking thymus also is a huge determiner of longevity or lack thereof. And so this is just another incredible leptin connection. As far as cancer, you may have read that low carb or VL, very low carb diet, VLCD, very low carb diets are absolutely correlated with fighting cancer. And the thing is that's very interesting is in the presence of things that spike blood sugar, the cancer-fighting herbs that are proven to cause programmed cancer cell death will not work. So what if you can say that you feel great from a new regimen that you've done? Maybe you went raw. Maybe you started to eat paleo. Where do these things fall short, and who needs to go further? With regard to paleo, the big issue is it's willy-nilly as far as blood sugar, and if you already have, you've taken antibiotics twice, 3 times, and you never recovered your correct bacterial balance. That changes your relationship with food, and it makes it almost guaranteed that you will exploit certain loopholes in these diets, be it gluten-free, low glycemic, paleo, even ketogenic. Believe it or not, ketogenic diets will not resensitize people to the hormone leptin unless protein is kept moderate, and that's where Atkins got it wrong. As much total admiration as I have for certain tenets that he needed to get out there, excess protein turns to sugar, but excess protein also causes cancer. There's a pathway called mTOR, the most important pathway in the body, and it decides whether your cells or your genetics are going to express toward cell replication or cell remodeling. You do not want excess protein unless you are not yet a fully grown adult, because you are looking at cell replication otherwise. And I have, back at my booth, because my time is up, incredible photos and transformations that are as stunning as the transformation that I went through, where I'm standing in front of a high school friend and that knew me in high school and have had a 2-minute conversation, and he still won't believe he's speaking with me. There are so many situations, including a hospice chaplain who had a heart attack, July of 2009. They gave her a drug for 4 months, no reduction in the pericarditis, and all of a sudden, after 2 months, clean bill of health, no more migraines, no more Meniere's disease, no more carpal tunnel, no more heart disease, and reversal of osteopenia, because when you become a fat burner instead of a sugar burner, you wind up not using the sugar from the protein in your bones overnight, which if you're a sugar burner, you're actually eating away at your bones overnight, and the osteopenia and the bone loss stops. So this woman had to bring a photo around even 3 months later to all of her hospice patients because they didn't know who she was. And you have those photos at my booth, many other stories of epilepsy, a neurology clinic using my book in Texas, and you also have a fertility clinic using my book in Denver, Colorado, bariatric, and all sorts of other clinics.